Eskom is under severe pressure to keep the lights on. The utility has significantly increased the stages of rolling blackouts in the last couple of days, a move that has raised questions from energy experts about just how transparent the power utility is to the public and exactly what is happening at the national power grid. Other media reports suggest that Eskom has been load-shedded at stage 8, while the power utility schedules remains on stage 6. To take this discussion further, we're joined via Zoom by Professor Sampson Mamphweli. He is the head of the Department of Science and Innovation's Energy Secretariat at SANEDI to weigh in on the energy crisis in South Africa. Prof, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time here on the SABC.
Good afternoon to you and the viewers.
Prof, we're starting to see high stages of load shedding from last week, and it's not even winter yet. What's happening with the grid in your understanding as we speak?
So I've been looking at the numbers, and the numbers were not looking good for quite some time. The grid is quite constrained. We've got the same problem of breakdowns. Up to 16,000 megawatts of breakdowns. And then we have about 7,000 megawatts that was out for maintenance, for regular maintenance, which was supposed to be coming back live around this time. We know that, for instance, the unit 2 of Quebec Power Station is also supposed to come back live by tomorrow. But there has been a lot of delays in terms of bringing back the units that are on maintenance, and also with the current breakdowns and the factories opening after the Easter weekend. So that all that is putting too much pressure into the national grid, which necessitates the move to stage 8 load shedding. And some of us had already predicted that by winter, if nothing is done between now and then, we face the risk of the total blackouts as things stand.
Prof, in light of what you're saying, the electricity minister, when briefing Parliament just last week, warned that we are yet to see high stages of rolling blackouts that we have not yet experienced. You're talking about a blackout. Just how bad is the situation in your understanding?
So the situation is not good at all. We have about 6 problematic power stations. Eskom has done a thorough diagnostics of those power stations. They've got plans in place to fix those power stations, but there's just no money to fix the power stations, and it becomes difficult to implement the plan that Eskom has. Because this is not regular maintenance that is required now. It's basically renewal of the various components within the various units in the power stations, and that is the biggest problem. National Treasury gave Eskom some money when the Minister of Finance announced about 256 billion or so, but that money is going to service the debt, and Eskom does not have money in their balance sheet as things stand to basically renew the 6 power stations that are problematic. My view is that there should be money made available quickly on an urgent basis, and that was supposed to have been done, by the way, through the declaration of the national state of disaster, with the teams that were supposed to be put in place by the new Minister of Electricity to ensure that there is a one-stop shop and proper coordination of the implementation of the President's Energy Action Plan. That's the only plan as things stand that can get us out of this particular problem that we're facing.
In your opinion, are these blackouts part of fixing the problem? And when we're looking at the load shedding schedules, is Eskom transparent? Are they being truthful enough on the stages that they are announcing to the public versus the actual blackouts that the public is subjected to?
So in terms of the energy action plan, Eskom is supposed to take down, more units to fix them. But when they fix those units, they must fix them for reliability. So when they return them back to service, they should be reliable for quite a long time. So that is part of the plan. But when it comes to the implementation of load shedding itself, I've noticed that at some point, some of the times Eskom would say we're on stage 4 load shedding, which basically means that they require about 4,000 megawatts that need to be load shedding. So somehow the message is not coming out clear. We are now on stage 8 load shedding. I don't know whether they've already announced stage 8, but if you look at the numbers and the way they are implementing the various stages, we are technically on stage 8 load shedding, and if nothing happens, we face even much more higher stages of load shedding as things stand. So I don't think the message has been quite the way it should be. They've been very good in terms of communicating the various stages of load shedding from the time that they started. They even have an online portal where one can follow what's happening. Even though that online portal recently had some problems and it had a bit of some time lags. So in terms of information management, they can do better. And I don't know whether this has got to do with the fact that they recently lost someone within the communication division who was quite good in terms of managing the information.
Prof, based on these technicalities that you've now outlined, in your opinion, was it right to cancel the state of disaster in relation to the energy crisis? How would you weigh in on that?
The state of disaster was not supposed to be cancelled. It's supposed to be reinforced because, in my view, the things that were supposed to have been done through the state of disaster have not been done. And I can give examples. For instance, I was one of the people who called for this state of disaster with other experts as well. And one of the things that was supposed to be put in place was this one-stop shop where the Minister of Electricity, for instance, would then determine the skills that are required around the country and allocate and basically locate those skills. And then people can then be seconded to the one-stop shop. For instance, if you were to give an example of SANEDI, which is a state-owned entity that's dealing with research where I am, if that particular one-stop shop was implemented and located at SANEDI, then people at the electricity division within the DMRE, for instance, some of those expertise would have been seconded to that one-stop shop. People in higher education sector, we've got engineers there who know the problem, who can solve it. People at Eskom, they could be brought to that one-stop shop, and then their working hours extended, and they could then be paid or be compensated for the additional time that they're putting into this problem for the next 3 months, and then they push the implementation in the next in the other 3 months, which basically means that the one-stop shop should have been in place for about 6 months, and we could have seen some of these problems going away gradually.
Perhaps this could then speak to the energy action plan, the policies that are in place, maybe even looking at alternatives. In your opinion, is the policy then around coal and renewables coherent enough at this stage, given where we are as a country, pushing for net zero, green economy? I mean, the reality of this seems unattainable in the short term, given the demands that we're facing. How would you weigh in there?
So if you look at the renewables, if it was not for renewables, we could have been in stage 10 load shedding, if you look at the numbers. Okay. So renewables are helping quite a lot. And that's one of the challenge, one of the issues. Now, if you look at the plan, the IRP, the Integrated Resource Plan, we are lagging a little bit behind in terms of implementation of the Integrated Resource Plan. We should have been having up to about 10,000 megawatts live now as we speak, if there was no delay in the implementation of the Integrated Resource Plan 2010. Minister Mantashe, when he came in, he led the revision of the IRP. We now have the IRP 2019, which he has been implementing quite well. So he's playing catch up, but he's doing well in terms of implementation. Now, when you look at the debate between renewables versus coal and all that, on this other side, what is failing is not renewable, it's the coal fleet. We've got 6 power stations that are giving us problems. that are breaking down every now and then. Those are the power stations that need to be fixed so that we can push the energy availability factor of those power stations to up to 70% and above. If that happens, then we will not have load shedding under the current circumstances. That's why part of what the Energy Crisis Committee had to do, and the new Eskom board, was to basically do root cause analysis of the existing coal fleet. Going forward, we are signatory to the Paris Agreement. We've got problems in terms of emissions. Most of our power stations are not even meeting emission standards. We need to balance in terms of bringing in renewable energy. When we do the models in the IRP, we look at something that we call adequacy, which basically says to us we will have adequate supply of electricity if we have this particular energy mix. And at the current moment, when we have with the current energy mix, we should have adequate supply of electricity. By the way, with the implementation of the Energy Action Plan, NERSA has registered about 1,400 megawatts from private IPPs that will be coming online in about 24 months or so. And also the Minister Mantashe has brought forward some of the bid windows and procured some new generation capacity will be coming in online quite soon in the next 18 to 20 months. So when you look at the long term, we're going to have more than enough electricity. But what the challenge now is, what do we do at a short term level? What do we do now to be able to avoid the situation that we find ourselves in? And if you go back to the Energy Action Plan, there are short-term measures such as your small-scale embedded generation. How do we bring them forward and things like that, and battery storage facilities that Minister Mantashe has been procuring so far. So it boils down to fixing the current Eskom coal fleet that's giving us problems. If that is done tomorrow or within the next 6 months, then load shedding will be a thing of the past.
Prof, the short-term measures seems to be the question of the day. Let's leave the conversation there, and thank you very much for your time here on the SABC. Professor Sampson Mamphweli is Head of Department of Science and Innovation's Energy Secretariat at SANEDI, weighing in on the energy crisis in South Africa, exploring both the long-term and short-term measures needed to mitigate against the crisis that we're currently experiencing.